at the end of the day, an alpha man protects. That should be instinctual.
Right.
That should be, an alpha man defends. That should be instinctual. The fact that it's not is scary.
Welcome, everybody, to the Not For Nothing podcast, hosted by the dynamic duo Christopher Michael and Ashley Maland, where they delve into life, love, relationships, and personal growth. Be sure to tune in every week for a refreshing take on life's most important lessons.
I was talking to my friends, and like, I have so many friends that do so many different things, like just in different phases of their life. And I think I have friends that do like a lot of the escort things.
Okay.
And like,
like males or females?
No, like males that get like female escorts.
Oh.
I don't like saying the word, like, I don't like saying prostitute. It just sounds very, you know what I mean?
Provocative.
I mean, it is what it is.
It just, you know, it's a trigger word. We can call a spade, but I'm sure that like a lot of them are cool. It's just, I figure it's a victimless crime, but
I'm sure you do.
I think to a degree, if like they know what they're doing. But anyway, so like the justification for it is it's a money thing, right? So they'll have money and they're like, okay, my time is important. So when they break it down to me, and again, like I have no judgment towards them whatsoever, but it's like, they're like, I'm going to spend X amount of dollars to, you know, go on dates, but I don't want anything longevity. It's like, I have to go through this whole rigmarole of like, is she going to think I'm an asshole? It's like, you know what I mean? Am I going to come off douchey to where it's like, if I just pay basically the same amount I would on 4 dates for the one thing that I want, it's like, she's getting what she wants. She wanted cash, and I get what I wanted her, and then we just go. They go
right.
It's
very transactional, though.
Yeah,
right.
I don't think there's intimacy in that, and I don't think it's like the right way to do it. But it's like when they broke it down, as opposed to like he was like, when I'm dating, I have to worry about feelings. Right. You don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Like he's not a dick in the sense of like he's not like just out here playing women or like just pulling on heartstrings.
Right.
So he was like, I think it's just better for me at this point to where it's like I have my time. We both know what the deal is, and then we just go about our day. And I was like, okay, I can entertain that a little bit because it's for him being single, and because remember how you said like, okay, like every time you like if you sleep with somebody, there is a connection. Like for girls, it's like more of a connection thing. So I think for him, there's a kindness in what he's doing to that point. So it's like to see that side of it. And then I have friends that will lead girls on till no end.
Right.
Like that is the game, right? Like where it's like make them fall. I think they almost get off to like a girl falling in love with them.
Yeah.
And then these girls get crushed. And then it's like, cause it's like they're setting up everything you want to hear.
Right.
And that's another thing that's scary about social media and dating apps. Cause it's like, you're giving guys that are good at that are good at game, a playbook.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
It's like, I just have to be this.
Yeah.
Like, okay, she likes this, and I'll just be these things. And then I can just go away. So there's that. And then there's guys that are just like single, but it's like, sometimes you just get shit on for being single. Cause if you are single and you're cool, and let's say you're not wanting longevity, right? You are going to build some sort of connection in some way, shape, or form. Where it's like you're going to let somebody down. So it's like hearing all three of those, it was kind of weird to hear what I thought deemed was like a good point for the whole like escort thing, like for paying for it. I'm like I could understand to a degree why that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I see what they're saying because at the end of the day, everybody's getting their needs, right? Like, and there's no emotion attached to it. There's no strings attached to it. Is it something that I would necessarily do? Probably not, because it is very transactional, obviously, and it feels weird, right?
And risky,
right? And at the end of the day, like you said, you got to call a spade a spade. It still is what it is, right?
It's you're dabbling in prostitution.
Yeah,
you're doing
right. But all right, so let's jump over to something real quick. So we talk a lot about how just men have changed in general. Mm-hmm. But did you watch the episode with our guest? You did, Sarah. Well, you know Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, what do you think about? So we obviously talked about domestic violence. Sarah went through a pretty traumatic event, and you know, have you seen some of the comments on there?
A lot of them.
I mean, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, what do you think? So, I'm going to give you an example of a comment that one guy left. So, and I have to laugh at it sometimes because either these guys are delusional or they're just such complete pieces of shit. It's unbelievable to me. Mm-hmm. But even something, and this is mild, mind you, okay? So he goes, probably his house, she was probably constantly being irritating. Where is the other side of the story? Women only ever give their version to make them look like they're all innocent.
Jesus.
It's like, dude.
My God.
It's just victim blaming. It's like you literally want to find, like, when somebody goes through something traumatic, I don't know why we search for an excuse of why they didn't go through something traumatic so hard.
Right.
And it's, as a guy, like, why do you feel the need to take to the internet and like, if you listen to the episode, like, for people, maybe for people that haven't had it, it's like she was having this domestic issue with an ex-boyfriend and stuff. So for people that didn't know that, but it's to go online and it's like, she's not bashing this guy.
No,
like, she's literally just
she literally told the story.
She's just telling her story, right? Wasn't trying to make him look terrible. She was just saying what happened. So to jump online, I just feel like that's a very strange thing for a guy to do, to just be like, what have you been through exactly that made you feel the need to say that? Or jump to this guy's defense.
Right.
You don't know this guy either.
Absolutely.
So I thought they were weird.
My thing is just, how do you even jump to a man's defense that has hit a woman that didn't hit him? Like, because guys will come up with the excuse of, well, she hit me, so what did she expect? Like, we're not, in this scenario, we're not talking about a woman that hit her husband. We're talking about a woman that found out he was cheating on her with multiple women and men, and was escorting himself out, right? So there isn't even room for an excuse here. Like, there's no room for it. Like, you cannot justify that in any possible way that, like, and the people on these comments, I'm going, what kind of world do we live in where guys are going, well, yeah, but I mean, she shouldn't look through his phone. Well, yeah, but I mean, what's his side of the story? What built up to this? Does it matter? Does there need to be an excuse for why this man grabbed her by the face and smashed her head against the wall until she passed out? Like, is there any justification for that? There isn't. And it doesn't even matter what happened. Even if she punched him in the face for no reason, there's still no justification for that.
I think it'd be funny, like, if he, let's just say he told his side of the story. Like, there's no good story that's going to lead up to, like, the incident that happened.
Right,
like,
being justified.
Yeah, even if I knew somebody that did that, like, if it was like a friend of mine, like, if I knew, like, there's no point in that story where I'd be like, oh yeah,
right. Oh, she deserved it.
Yeah.
Like, she had it coming.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
There'd be no, like, even if you gave that person with what happened an opportunity to speak, what am I getting out of that side? Like, unless you were about to be, like, stabbed or like killed.
Absolutely.
Like,
That's different.
Not like completely different scenario, but it's like, I think they're taking it to the extreme of, like, what exactly do you think? And Sarah's like a smaller girl.
Right.
Tiny.
She's tiny framed. Absolutely.
So it's like, to take to the internet and have to defend that guy is very strange. Because it's like, what story do you think would be good to lead up to that? That's normal. And because I feel like she told the story pretty well.
She did,
like,
absolutely.
She told it great. So it's like, it wasn't. There was, what part of that made you take it out and be like, well, what could have possibly been happening in the background? Like, what do you think was going on in that house from that person, to where it's like, if it was that serious, like, why didn't he? If it was something that led to that, you would think he would have called the police or something would have happened, like, at that degree.
Right.
So nothing that terrible was happening to him.
No. And then but here's kind of my thing with it all. It's kind of like, first off, it's almost looks like in today's day, for some reason, it's almost becoming acceptable to ask a question like that. And by the rate of guys that came on to say similar shit, and we'll get into some of the worst comments, but here's my thing. As men, it's a failure, because at the end of the day, even the guys that come on and say, oh, well, she must have taken a low blow. Like, when did men become so thin-skinned that we need to raise our hand to a woman because she said or threw something in our face that we told her in confidence? First off, I'm a guy. I've had shit said to me by other guys that, I could destroy them for it, right? And it doesn't even come close to the worst thing any woman's ever said to me. Yeah. So even that rationalization, it's like, what are you talking about? And at what point, even if a woman punches you in the face, what are you raising a hand to them for? What could they possibly do to you that's going to warrant you potentially killing or putting them in the hospital or beating the shit out of them? Like, what is going on with guys today? I just don't get it. When did it become okay? It bothers me so much. I'm getting upset about it now because I think back to some of the comments and I'm like, I just don't understand. And then for the guys, like you said, to come on and defend the guys who are defending a man that they don't even know, it's like you said, what do you expect to come from the other side of the story? What?
When you break it down, it's like everybody, like, we talk about masculinity and alphaism a lot. It's like, well, okay. When you think of like a, I don't know, like, let's say a stereotypical, like, like Bronson in Death Wish, right? Charles
Right.
Bronson. You think of somebody that's stoic, in control of their emotions. So you're going away from what masculinity is by doing that, right? You're supposed to be stoic. And then it's like you said with a girl, it's like, I've been hit by girls, like, and it's not, I've been hit by dudes, and like, you're like, it's not going to affect me like that.
Right.
Like, I had like an ex that like literally like bruised my ribs. She like field goal punted my ribs. Right. And it's like there was not even a thought in my mind where it's like, I should just punch this girl in the face.
Absolutely.
Like there wasn't even, I left. Like you could just leave.
Yeah.
You could literally just leave. I've ran around more apartment complexes than I'd like to imagine, because just like very toxic relationships, obviously, but it's like never. Like it's just, you don't think that way. So the fact that you're not in control of your anger, you're not in control of your, physical abuse, you have no control over any of your emotions in that sense, especially when it's just words.
Right.
Like if a girl's if somebody's calling you a girl's calling you a piece of shit, you're trash. Just every insult that you can say in the book, especially like it happens when people speak out of anger, right?
Of course.
We just start just rattling off shit that we know is going to attack a person's character. If you can't handle that and you feel the need to just literally beat the shit out of somebody, you got a lot of growing to do as a man, as far as like keeping your emotions in check. And that goes with just fighting in general. If you can't handle that, there's something that it says something about you, to where it's like you weren't able to just calm yourself.
Right.
And be that stoic, just like, okay.
Right.
Still water. Just, it is what it is. Like, no biggie. Excuse yourself from the situation.
Right.
So I don't know what scenario, again, like unless you're about to get like stabbed to where you can get like absolutely fucking like killed.
Right.
There's no situation you can't avoid by just exiting.
Absolutely.
I totally agree.
Yeah, it's like he was in a fight for his life. You know what I mean? Like that's, and it's like almost like if that's what you're expecting her to say, clearly that's not. So where's the justification coming from? Like you said, what do you think is going to come out of this? So, and then some of the comments that they make, just how vicious they are toward her. It's like, so I guess my main thing is kind of like, it's just, and these guys will consider this alpha behavior, right? And then you or me or any man that comes to the defense of her would be considered a simp. So that turn in what is masculine to me and what makes you an alpha in society is just so fucking whacked out right now. I don't even know how you get it back in balance.
But again, like there's always been guys like that, but right now it just seems like they're so prevalent, like where it's like, I don't know when it switched. Yeah. Because you were weird if you talked like that like a while ago. Like you were just a strange dude. Like you like dudes. Right. Like why are you so gung-ho about, and again, like I'm very middle. I know that we were talking about this earlier. It's like I know that there's girls that have fucked over guys tremendously. Like girls have really fucked over dudes, whether financially, just emotionally, just they've been like that's a real thing. It's like it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month too. So it's like, there have been guys that have been really fucked over. Yeah. But for sure, they're also just assholes out there. So feeling the need that for somebody that's been cheating on you, and then for you to be the one that's cheating on a person, to slam the person that got mad at you and caught you, just beat the shit out of them is like baffling. Like there's really like, how are you mad at somebody's reaction to what you caused?
Yeah.
That's insanity.
It's psychopathic behavior. And then there are men on here justifying it. That's unbelievable to me.
She's also pretty. Guys,
yeah, so they hate it.
Guys will hate every pretty girl does something wrong. Every pretty girl's a gold digger, and every pretty girl's a hoe, and every pretty girl we're just mad that we can't get every pretty girl that we want in the world. Like you said about the 100 followers.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, and you would think that like these guys have no self-awareness, right? These people, they clearly don't, because if they did, they would realize that nobody wants to engage or interact with them.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it's like, come on, dude. Like, look what you're doing. Like, you're taking time out of your day to go on to a page to write a nasty fucking comment about a girl that was beat up by her boyfriend who cheated on her. Like, what are you doing with your life? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Like the worst Yelper of all time. But it's like, also, it's like the cool part is like, you don't really have to argue or entertain fucking user 1976302. Like, I'm not gonna,
with a picture of an eagle for his profile.
I'm not going to argue with you. Like you're a point. You're stuck in your ways. Your room probably. Like I just picture those dudes like in those rooms that have pizza boxes everywhere.
Mountain Dew everywhere.
Just smells like fucking cigarettes and sadness.
Yeah,
sadness for sure.
It's funny to think that though, like but it's like, what does that say about you? Like you saw that And your first line of action was just, let me go defend this dude.
Yeah.
Let me go defend the dude.
That's what I said on there. I responded to one of those guys. I was like, you literally are revealing yourself in front of thousands of people right now. Do you realize that? That you are exposing who you are by the fact that you're defending something that's disgusting? Like, now everyone knows what you believe in. Like, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's right, there's wrong. And like, I'm again, like, you should know those things.
Yeah,
but like,
for sure.
We were talking about gray areas. There is always gray areas, so you can argue that point. But with something like that, I really don't think there's a need to argue for it. Like,
right.
Yeah. What was the joke we were saying earlier? Is like if somebody kicked a baby in the face at a park,
right?
Nobody's gonna go try to defend that. Well, what was the baby doing? Was the baby too loud? Was the baby crying too much? Like, what? Fucking kids can be a lot. I get why he punted that 3-year-old.
Right.
So the fact that you need to do that to a girl is crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you what really, and what gets to me, and you could tell me as a woman, I genuinely do feel like the more guys act like this, I'll be honest, what was really surprising to me too, is how few guys come on to defend. And I think that's part of the problem, honestly, is that the guys who don't agree just don't speak up enough, because I can't even tell you if I saw maybe 1 or 2 guys that defended it. I mean, it's unbelievable to me. Like, it's like people are afraid to come out, and it's guys especially are afraid to come out and like speak up against it, I feel like. And it's like, why though? Like, I don't understand why. Like, what are you worried about? You're going to be judged by the supposed alpha males of the world? Like, the fuck?
But aren't alphas anyway.
It's funny that you can judge somebody on speaking up when you also spoke up. You're just speaking up. You're speaking up for the opposition. So it's like, it's weird if guys say something that would be in defense of something that's blatantly wrong. Right. That's all we're doing. We're just saying this is fucking wrong. This dude's a piece of shit. That's what we're saying. Right. And we should all just be on terms of like, yeah, we can agree with that. So the fact that you're speaking up, you're just speaking on the other side, doesn't make you this like counter hero of like what happened to him. Like, dude cheated, and he got so mad that he got caught cheating that he just beat a girl up. Right. That you could probably fucking throw 50 yards like with him. Yeah. Like, when you get into that conversation, it's like, why are we so hung up on like the women being in the UFC, right? Right. What's the main argument for that? Like, it's just so different for a guy to just beat on a girl. Oh, it's for different. Sure. Like, what was the guy that he was like, he got in all the sports for like women's sports, and he just demolished like
Leah Thompson for the swimmer.
Yeah. And like, again,
Leah Thomas.
And there's nothing against like what she did as far as like transitioning, that's fine. But it's like when you put people in categories to where it's like, it's a completely different strength battle. Yeah. It's like fighting is. Yeah. Yeah.
Men have an advantage. That's just the fact. Yeah. Like, there's no justification. A man hitting a woman is not the same as a woman hitting a man. And it won't ever be.
Yeah, it's very strange to just feel like people needed to just jump on that. Just with something that's so clear cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she wasn't like it's not like she was, slandering the guy.
Right. She didn't talk about him at all. She didn't say anything about him other than what happened.
Right. It was a story. Like, it wasn't like a slanderous story either, where she was shouting him out by name and just completely dragging him through the mud. I mean, the only time you'd even know who she's talking about is if you knew her personally. Otherwise, it's just a random guy to anybody else, right? And in their eyes. And what really kind of gets to me is the more guys speak up like this on issues like this in this way, and you could tell me, I feel like it does. It taints other women in the world to being open to men that aren't that way, because the manipulation that they put onto these women, right? It all looks normal at first. Yeah. So it puts you on guard because it's so normal for so long in the beginning. You don't know when somebody's going to take their mask off, right? So I would imagine it puts women on a really heavy guard, right? Where you're just not going to be so open or receptive to good men in the world because you just don't know anymore.
100%. In fact, like, after that happened, like, Sarah, God love her, like, she was just like, I kind of already knew. I have spoken up about, my abuse situation before and gotten backlash. So I knew that was a possibility, right? Right. Anytime you put something in the public that's like an issue, like, there's always somebody that's going to call you a liar. There's always somebody that's going to say you made it up. There's always somebody that's, she's just wanting attention. She just wants people to feel sorry for her. Those things happen, right? But it was so extreme. Like, she was devastated, and I felt horrible for her because I couldn't have even seen that coming. Like, I knew there'd be a few stupid comments. Did not know they would go to that far. But like, genuinely had like a solid 2 or 3 days where I just like sat around like in disbelief and like reevaluating men in general, because there were so many. There were so many that I genuinely was like, oh my God, like I don't have a whole lot of faith left in men, but this one took me even further back because, God, we've talked about this. I've said it on my page before. I don't genuinely think it's men are the problem or women are the problem. I do think it's a character issue. I do think it's a moral issue. I do think it's a standard issue that who you are on the inside is what matters, and it's just on both sides. But it's like men are not doing a good job defending that right now. They're just not.
It's a failure. It's kind of just like one of those things where it's like, listen, when you look at stuff like this, and we talk a lot about, and again, I try to stay in the middle, but things like this make it harder for me sometimes, because what happens through things like this, I feel like, is a lot of men complain about how more women are now stepping into the masculine, right? Mm-hmm. And it's pulling men back from being who they typically are. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, I don't blame them to a degree, because when you see shit like this, of course they have to, because what this shows me is that to a degree, women can't even count on men to step up and defend them in the most extreme of circumstances. Right. And something that's so black and white, they can't even count on a guy to step up and do the right thing to even just defend her. Just post a comment to defend her. Now imagine they're in an alleyway getting the shit kicked out of them. It's almost like you have to concern yourself as to whether or not a man is going to step up on the street to protect any woman. I mean,
or just walk by and be like, well, she probably deserved it.
Right. Like it's wild to me. And really, I just don't know how you counter it. It's just it's fucking bizarre.
I think the funniest part to me is like everybody wants to be a man, but nobody wants to be a man.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So it's like you have these guys where it's like we can say alpha all day, right?
Yeah.
We can fucking, this dude's bigger than me and you have giant muscles and that's fucking alpha, right? Fucking good for you. And then this guy gets so many girls and that's alpha. And it's like when you get down to the basis of what being a man is, it's like a lot of it is internal. And they're skipping that side over so much. You can have this mask of masculinity or whatever's going on. Like you can put this shade up. Right. You can get as big as you want to. Again, like you can do the steroids. You can get huge. You can fucking drive the fucking nice car. You can have all that. But internally, are you lacking something to where you're not good in yourself? Are you not good as a person on your inside? Are you like we were talking about earlier, are you not in control of your emotions? Are you not able to do that? Do you need outside validation for you to be a man? Are you a man inside of yourself? Right. Yeah. So it's like you want to talk about alphaism. It's like you're going the complete wrong way. You just want the facade. Right. You want the look of it. You want everything to be you want everything to be aesthetically man, right? Right. That's cool. But you don't want to do any of the internal work. You don't want to do any of the outside sources that make you a better man. Yeah. So where it's like it has nothing to do with size. Like this is a conversation I have a lot where it's like, there's so many guys out there that are deemed not masculine because of a look. I'm like, okay, you break down what this dude does. It's like, look at a guy that like takes care of his family, right? Goes to work, like has a fucking good job, cool dude, very set. It's like, just because he doesn't look like the picture image, it's like he's doing more for his own masculinity and his alphaism the majority of men do. Yeah. But it's like, we just like, not we, but it's like majority of guys now, it's like, just as long as the look's cool. Right. Like if the look's good and I look like a man, I don't even think you've taken the time to like drop that ego and drop your pride and have to deal with those things and be able to control the shit that's going on inside of you and understand that you're lacking in so many things. Right. To where you need all these outside things to look like that. Not to say that you shouldn't go to the gym and not to say that you shouldn't strive to be better. That's part of it, but it's a small portion of all the things that you need to be doing to make that a full circle.
Yeah. For sure.
Like all the other shit's like nonsense. It's just a look.
Right.
It is. And an alpha, like at the end of the day, an alpha man protects. That should be instinctual. Right. That should be, an alpha man defends. That should be instinctual. The fact that it's not is scary right now. Like the fact that has like somehow like disappeared and gotten pushed back to the wayside is really terrifying to me. That's not instinctual anymore for every man. Like I wouldn't feel safe with men anymore. It goes back to this whole issue with like the bear versus man thing that went viral on TikTok, and men just proving the whole entire point of why women would choose the bear, like getting mad, throwing fits, whatever, like blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, no, if a bear kills you, it kills you and no one questions it. But if a man kills you, maybe she deserved it. Maybe she triggered him. Maybe she,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, it's just wild to me.
You ever seen a grown man throw a tantrum?
Yeah.
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 You ever seen like an actual masculine dude throw a tantrum?
No.
No,
No,
they don't.
you've never seen it.
I've
There's not one guy in your life that you can think of like somebody that you looked up to as a man that threw a tantrum.
No.
Because truly masculine men are in control of their emotions.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've never thought of, but why? Like you never heard that ever. You just go about, and that's
Right.
something that it's like, I'm not saying like it's a growing process. So it's like me growing up. That's like the image that I thought was so cool.
Right.
And it's like, I'm not here to, because I feel weird whenever I speak on the topic because I feel like I'm saying that I'm like perfect. Like, I'm
Right,
like I've made
right.
it. Like I figured
Right.
it all out because it's like a growing process for
Right.
me. So it's like, there's things that I've learned where it's like, I've done shitty things in my past that I've looked back on and been like, why did I do that? Like, and like, how can I better that? And it's like just a growing thing. So it's like when I feel like I toss out advice, I feel like a lot of dudes here are like, oh, well, he's not perfect. It's like, I'm fucking not.
Right.
And it's like, I'll never claim to be that because it's just this journey of becoming better.
Yeah.
And then there's probably going to be things in 5 years that I look back on now where it's like, why did I do that? Why was I so focused on that? And why was that the way I thought? And it's just this continuous thing that I'm doing. So going to the bear thing, it was funny because I remember I saw that. And again, like when you come at it with hate, like, cause there's a lot of it that came out like very aggressive. And again, like I soak things in. Like I'm not like just I'm not first on the draw to just agree, be like, yep. So I was like, I didn't understand it when I first heard it. I was like, what does this mean? And then when I did research on it, so when this started it was women would rather be attacked by a bear than a guy.
Right.
Because at least people would believe that you
Yeah.
were attacked by the bear.
Right.
I thought they were just saying like men are worse than bears. I thought it was that simplistic. I was like, well, that's kind of fucked up to say. But then when I did it and like you understand with these comments, it's a perfect example.
It is.
It's like, so nobody believes that she didn't. But if you get attacked by a bear, nobody's going to question it. But this
Right.
girl was literally beat up and everybody's like, well,
What'd she do?
What'd you do?
Right.
Why? Yeah. It's like, so it's just funny to me that caught on so well. Cause again, I didn't know the actual start of it.
Right.
I thought it was just, again, I thought this was like I thought it was just a battle of the sexes. Like this is like a shit on a dude. And then I read on it and I was like, this makes sense. Like it
Yeah.
does make a lot of sense. And that's like in real time. Like you could see it
Yeah.
on that video. And if you go back and listen to her podcast, you can hear her story and like
Yeah.
to be able to defend that. You really got some psychological stuff with
Yeah,
you. if you
for
find
sure.
it.
Right.
I was like,
Right.
I could see why dude did it. I got it. She was, you know,
I understand.
yeah, guys can't cheat anymore. What's going on? Boys will be boys, dude. What's fuck's gonna happen? So it's like you really got to check yourself if you have that inner monologue about
Yeah,
what you just said.
You do. And I'll be honest, yeah, I personally would love to think there's far more of us than there is of them. And I just wish more of us stepped up,
Yeah.
especially publicly, because honestly, that's why this narrative takes off, right? Like these narratives take off because you only see the fucking psychopathy from these fucking lunatics that come out and talk against her and defend the guy that they don't even know, instead of seeing all of us band up and say, well, listen, dude, you're speaking for yourself. You're not speaking for me. You're not speaking for other men because we don't do shit like that.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You know, and I, unfortunately, not enough do. And this is what we this is what we deal with as a repercussion of it.
Mm-hmm.
People have a hard time being wrong. Like it's okay. Like it's okay to be like, fuck, okay, like, good point. Like,
Right.
you know, I was wrong. Like I totally understand. Like people have such a hard time.
Yeah.
Like you'll just die by your word. And if you take a step back, like what's always funny is like when you're in an argument or you're debating people, it's like the conversation at the end of the day should be like, give me your points. I'm going to give you my points.
Right.
Like what's going on. And you might see some shit that you don't like. There's middle ground. Like you see it in politics all the time. Like I always say, like the worst person to be is an extremist on either side.
Yeah.
Because if you're an extremist, you're losing sight of like what the actual conversation is and what the goal is that we're trying to hit.
Right.
So if you stepped back and looked at a conversation, you would be able to break down like, okay, well, I don't know why we're going so hard on this one topic. Like we're just like at a certain point when you're that deep into it, now you're just reaching for things.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're talking about all these possibilities of like, oh, well, that could have happened and this could have happened and
Right.
fucking fish could fly. Like whatever, like that has nothing to do with the conversation or the argument at hand when you step back and just be like, okay, that's bad.
Right.
Like that's all you have to do. You just have to step back, look at it from a bigger, like just a bigger scope and be like, oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
bad. But when you get down and people love to just get down and start like, oh, what about this? And what about this? And then you end up going something that's not even on the topic anymore.
Right.
Like this isn't what happened in this case.
Yeah.
That'd be like going to court and like bringing up other people's trials.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, fuck, man, we're here. We're at we're having this conversation. Why are you talking about other stuff right now? And you give a million examples of things that have no affiliation with what you're talking about at hand.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're just, at a certain point, you're not wanting to talk. You just want to win the argument.
Well, it becomes a point of pride.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're not defending anything. It's like there's people that want to fight for something.
Right.
And there's people that just want to punch.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you're just punching. Now you're just punching. You're not fighting for anything. What are you winning out of this? What's the gain? Are you fighting for rights? Are you trying, like, what? You're just punching. You just want to make this person feel bad and you want to win the argument. Tantrum.
Yeah.
You're throwing a tantrum. You're kicking your legs and swinging your arms and you're being as loud as you can be.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Facts.
It's ridiculous. But no, you're right. It does, because then once people get caught up in their pride, it's never ending.
Yeah.
They just go until they feel, not even that they won the argument, they're just satisfied, right? They hurt the person enough, or they got out what they just want. Like, they're just saying what they want to say, right? And they're just happy that they're last word freaks, right? They got it out. They said the final point, and that's it. That's what they wanted.
It's the funniest thing ever. Like, to be able to just like lie in your own fucking words is just funny, and be like, yep, said that, sure showed them.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, you did nothing. There was no progression to anything. Like, no, I'm sure nobody on any of these comments, nobody's reached out like, hey, I really appreciate you saying that. No, I'm glad you're standing up for abusers.
Yeah, right.
Solid, dude.
Thanks, man.
Somebody needed to speak up for us.
Thanks.
Right.
Yeah. We're people too.
Yeah, and the fact, again, like, and I also think it's like, I think it's a pretty thing. I think girls that are pretty have this natural hate that people have for them.
Yeah.
Like, they just fucking hate them.
It's resentment.
It's resentment and it's like somebody that's not objectively pretty. Like, everybody has a type, but somebody that doesn't fit that mold. There's no wrong for them. Everybody's stoked and everybody's happy. Like, even if they do like shitty things, like the whole Lizzo situation. Did you see that when she's like talking shit about her dancers?
No,
she was
didn't
basically
see it.
like body shaming her dancers. And
Was
shit.
she really?
Yeah. So it's like, to go back to that, it's like, you can call her an ass. Like, she is an ass. Like, we don't have to feel like sorry. Like, nobody has this empathy because somebody just looks a certain way.
Right.
But if you're like, you get this, people get sympathetic.
Yeah.
Right, with somebody that, like, I'm like, she still did something fucked up.
Yeah.
You don't have to be rooting for this girl. And nothing against her. Like, whatever she wants to do. And like, the movement she was going for is body positivity. And that's a great movement. Again, if you step back from the scope, regardless of who she is, what she's fighting for is like, that makes sense. Like, body positivity, love yourself. That's fine. But it's like, to be that person and also be doing the same shit you're fighting against. Like, that makes you a pretty awful person. Fight for it, and then you're doing the exact same stuff.
Yeah, shaming your dancers for their bodies. Yeah.
In any way, like what like making somebody feel bad when you're all about this positivity vibe. It's like, okay, you're just marketing now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We were talking about like male feminist earlier. So it's like, are you doing it because you believe in it, or are you doing it because you know girls are gonna like this?
Right, absolutely.
Because there's some shit you got to step back and be like, whether it's man or woman, and be like, no, that's fucked up.
Right, it's wrong. If it's wrong, it's wrong, dude. I mean, it doesn't matter, man or woman. At
like,
the end of the day,
that's what I'm saying. So it's like, it's not even about like, you don't even have to go as far as being a feminist. It's just like, yeah, like, what happened to her is terrible. Right. There's no need to defend that guy. Even as a guy, there's no need. And if it was like the reverse way, where it's like, let's just say she was the one beating the hell out of him. I'm not going to defend you. I'm not going to be like, well, you know, he's a guy, you can take it. Like, I'm not going to go that way either.
Still not right.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not right at all. Girls that hit guys, it's like, you don't do that.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
No, you just don't.
There's no excuse for that either, really.
Yeah.
Like, should never
unless you're defending yourself.
Yeah,
you know?
literally. Like, if you're a girl that just beats on dudes and thinks like you have this immunity to, there's those girls out there too. Like, you don't just beat up on a guy. That's wrong.
No, you should never. No one should ever raise their hands to one another. I mean, period. And I will say though, of course, listen, there are definitely women in the world that will take advantage of a situation knowing that they're with a man that will not raise a hand to them at all. And those women are fucked up, because you should never raise a hand to somebody simply because you know they won't retaliate. That's fucked up.
See, and those are the conversations where it's like, I always like to bring them in because I don't want it to seem one-sided.
Right.
Like, I don't see that. Like, those are real people too.
Yes.
And those are fucked up scenarios that, like I said, like a lot of guys go through. Like, I know, like, I've had a few guys that have like told me stories about like their girlfriends just hitting them or just fucking them up in their sleep.
Yeah.
And they won't do anything. Because like they have that integrity to just not hit a girl.
Yeah, of course.
And it's like, that's messed up too. So it's like fighting for that point, just so it doesn't seem like we're just like, you know, you don't see the other stuff that does happen. Like, those people are real. So I think, like you said, you just don't raise your hand to people. You just don't touch people in a harsh way.
Kat, what do you think?
Go ahead.
What do you think?
I have hit a man before.
I think a lot of women probably have.
But he absolutely deserved it.
Right.
Like, this was a man that I had been with for a long time. I walked in on him with another woman. Like, I'm sorry, but like,
Yeah, that would get the
you
best. I think, of most
snap.
people.
Sometimes you just snap. Like when you've had enough, you're fed up. When you walk in on the person that you love that's supposed to be faithful to you sleeping with someone else, like sometimes instincts just kick in, you know, like
I mean, listen, everybody
never
has
done it since and I won't do it again. But
I mean, if we're being honest too, like as a guy, if you like, you shouldn't be able to get your ass kicked by your girlfriend. I just don't like, maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know the right way to say it, but it's like, I don't know if there's girls out there that could probably kick my ass like that are like fighters, like legit.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like a Ronda Rousey could beat the shit out of me.
You'd probably be happy for it.
But like if we're going on general population, there's not a lot of, like, again, like when you've been hit by guys and you've been like beat the fuck up by dudes, it's like a girl
Yeah.
punch, like it's gonna hurt, but you should be able to absorb that.
I'm
Also,
sure. Yeah.
like you're talking about, like you walked in on this guy cheating to not expect a reaction at all is
Right.
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And even I didn't even leave a mark. So, I mean, how hard was it, you
But
know?
I think in your defense, though, I think that situation would have broke most anybody
Yeah.
in the moment for sure.
You should never raise your hands at anybody, but I've been slapped for doing dumb shit. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's a slap. Sometimes you need it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like if you played football, like you used to get fucking your head, like, you know, headbutts, and you used to get like grabbed by the pads and like just, you know, whatever. Like it's just like a little, she's just letting you know you did something wrong and you're being a dick. Like the slap is like you said, thug it out. Like like beating the shit out of somebody is completely different.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure this guy didn't pass out. I'm sure he
God,
didn't,
no.
You know what I mean? I'm
I
sure
didn't hit him in the face. Like,
You should have kicked him in the deck.
I did.
Did you?
I did.
See, but this is
Yes.
I did.
Good.
this is
Good
like
for you, Ash.
you walked in on this and you kicked him in the dick. I have so many questions. Like, was it like?
Okay, you
Is it
want
like
to
a
hear the
door
story?
spring?
Yeah, I'd love to hear
All
the
right.
story.
So we'd been off and on. He'd been begging for me to come back. I finally broke down. Went to go visit him. Nowhere to be found. Found out he was out around bars, flirting with all these different chicks. So at the end of the night, my friend and I go to his house because I've been trying to call him. He's not answering. His bedroom had a door, like an outside door to it. So I knock on the door because he's there. And I hear a girl's voice go, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Oh, hell no." Oh, and he did not. No, God. I mean, at this point, I am beyond comprehension because I have put up with so much already. And the fact that I even gave this idiot another chance and now here we are, it was just like, there's no way this is happening. So he answers the door in his boxers, pretending like he's been asleep. It's very obvious, by the way, he was not asleep, just throwing it out there.
Right.
All right, so
See what you're saying?
the first thing I do, I didn't actually kick him. I punched him right in the crotch as hard as I could. And I was like, I know there's a girl here, so where's she at? And he's like, there's no one here. You're crazy. I was sleeping. There's no one here. And I'm like, I know there is. So I'm searching around the house. I'm not finding anything, but I'm not stupid. Like I heard what I heard. And finally, I'm like sitting there and I start to think to myself, okay, maybe I am crazy because there's no one here. And then I think, I'm going to look under the bed. So I look under the bed and there's a bra and a pair of underwear under there that aren't mine. So I pull out the bra and I'm like, no one here, huh? No one's here. And so he points like this. And she was in the attic.
Oh, wow. Jesus.
She was in the attic.
Sweating her ass off.
She pulled an Anne Frank.
So I go up in the attic. And she's hiding. Like hiding. I don't even remember what she was hiding behind, but she's hiding, like crouched in the corner, like hiding. And I look at her and I know her.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, she's like, I didn't know. He said you guys weren't together. He said you guys broke up. I snapped. I snapped because I had already been through so much with this guy. Like he had done so many horrendous things to me already. And it's my own fault for even taking him back. But like, I was really young, really naive, really dumb. But she comes down the stairs after that. I even though I know her, I'm not even mad at her because after everything this guy's already put me through, I know he lied to her.
Right.
I know he did. Right. So she ends up, yeah, it was a bad deal. Needless to say, it was over after that. And yeah, he ended up trying to kill me after that, actually. I think I told you about that. He'd strangled me and told me he was going to kill me. And then I ended up leaving after that because I was just like mentally not okay anymore. Like I'd been through too much at that point. But yeah, it was crazy. Crazy ordeal.
While he gets caught doing that, that's how he reacts. It's like
Well, it wasn't that day.
No,
was a
I'm
different
just
day.
saying after it all, right? After everything is all said and done and everything that was done to you,
Yeah.
that was his last act.
Yeah.
Was to do something like that is just.
Yeah. I left him after that. And I saw him out somewhere at this big event. Like there was a ton of people there, and his friends were like flirting with me, and he was getting pissed about it and came up to me, called me a slut. I'm the slut, apparently. And I threw my drink in his face.
God.
And I went to leave, and he grabbed me by my hair and was like dragging me down the sidewalk. And this group of guys that I went to high school with saw it. They came running after us, and they were like yelling at him. So he let me go. And then I took off running. And there was like a fair in town. So it was like a horror film, like running down the street and with everything's closed down. It was like nighttime. And then I heard him coming from behind me, and I started to call my friend who lived nearby. He grabbed my phone and threw it and grabbed me by my arm and dragged me behind the alley. And then that was when he had pinned me up against the wall and was choking me and saying he was going to kill me. And thank God that same group of guys had the sense to like keep following him.
Yeah.
And they had called the cops, and the cops came, and they jumped him after that. They like pulled him off of me and jumped him. They came around the corner like in time. It was crazy.
Simps.
Yeah, Sims.
Sims.
Simps.
Yeah, major
Everybody
Sims.
take to the internet and roast these guys. Just
Yeah.
Seriously, how dare they?
I know, right? Like, let a guy do what he's got to do. Boys will be boys, you know? Like,
What I've taken away from all this is men really don't like when you catch them cheating.
Seriously.
It's just like,
right.
and instead of stopping the cheating,
Right.
like you'll just go, wow,
yeah.
that's insanity.
It's wild. So, Ash, let me ask you a question. What do you think? Like men, what would you like to see from men to kind of stop perpetuating the cycle that we see online as a woman?
I think men are really struggling with accountability right now. I think they're resentful because women are becoming so independent and they're not as needed as they used to be.
Right.
And I think that's hard. You know, I don't think that men have a sense of purpose like they used to because they're no longer the sole provider. They're no longer deemed as the person that's caring for a woman because they have the finances and the means. Like I feel like if they feel like they're in competition now. And I think that's part of the problem is that men are now like they're getting resentful and now it's a competition as opposed to just going with the flow and like relearning, you know, a system with someone that wants to be independent to a sense. Like there's nothing wrong with a woman wanting a great job and having a good income and being self-sufficient. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And you can still make that work in a relationship. Two people can both be successful and still have a great, balanced, even traditional style relationship in a sense, right? Like I would be happy to be super successful and have a man that still liked to take care of the bills. Like, and I could provide in other ways and I could, you know, I could pay for the vacation and you get the groceries or, you know, whatever. There's like ways around it. But I think men they want to be powerful. They want to be in control. They want to be the leader of something and they don't feel like they have that power anymore. And so I think they've become bitter and resentful. And that's just my opinion as a woman. I don't know as a man, obviously.
So going to that, like to ask a counter question. So that is what makes a man feel in his masculine. So how do you counter that? Like, you talk about, so like what women want are exactly the things that are feeling like he's getting stripped away. And maybe like there's a negative way to do that for sure. Like if he just wants a power trip, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But the things that make us feel good about being a provider, being a defender and stuff like that, if that goes away, like what would you do? Like as a woman, how do you bring that back?
Here's the thing. I think that because men have grown resentful, because they have grown bitter, and they do respond the ways that they do on the internet, and they act like this way, I think women are becoming more masculine. I don't think independence makes a woman masculine. I don't think women wanting jobs and having good jobs makes them masculine. I think fear makes them masculine. I think being afraid to be vulnerable with a man makes a woman masculine because she doesn't feel like she can trust the man to take care of her, right? And so when women become masculine as a response to that, they can't even fall in their feminine role anymore because they're too afraid, right? Like, I think that men need to become supportive and accountable in their own sense too. And maybe even just let go a little bit of that control and still want to provide and take care of women. And I think that will help women kind of ease back too. And you know what I mean? Like for me, if I'm dating a cocky guy that's like, that is very clearly insecure and is very clearly wanting control and power, I'm never going to just be fully comfortable and feel safe enough to be my feminine self. I'm going to feel like I'm in defense mode all the time, right? Like I've defended myself. I have to seem more mysterious. I have to, date other people too, because, I can't trust this guy to just fall into this relationship. I can't just like feel safe with him,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Does that answer your question? I'm
kind of like getting to so all those points of what women find attractive in a man are going away, right? Or like and I think part of it is, I think that's one of the reasons why men date younger, right? I don't think it's to provide less, but I think you can do something. So it's like I had an ex that was nothing against her. She's a great person, but she was just very heavy into she was a sugar baby and she was used to getting thousands upon thousands of dollars. And I couldn't do that, right? So for somebody to have to make me feel like that was okay almost felt like this, it's okay, like a tap on the back, like sympathy kind of, like it kind of like took away from me in this sense. So it made me feel strange. Like I had nothing against what she did and like I had no judgment towards that. I had no, like, you have an opportunity like that, you take it. But my whole complex was like, what do you give the girl that's had everything? Like, what do you possibly give, right? You can only do so much. And then it's like, you have to, because you're going to have good days and bad days, whether the relationship is great or not, you're going to have ups and downs in a relationship. There's going to be times. So I got to this point and like, this was me, like this was a couple of years back. So it's like, I got to this point. It's like, I don't know what to do to stand out to you anymore. Like it was more that got stripped away. It wasn't the judgment of like, okay, her career wasn't doing well, but what she did, like as far as like, these dudes that she would previously be with had like astonishing amounts of money.
Yeah, and she probably didn't care about them.
Yeah, but to a degree, it's still, there's like a tick. Even if you're not mad, like you don't have to be necessarily mad and you don't have to be like bitter towards the girl, but it's like, I want to do these things for you. And it's like, when is the time that we get to do something for the first time? Because it's like, you've done this. So my new experiences are not your new experiences, but like granted, like, okay, you do things together and it's like, maybe it was a better trip than the last trip.
Yeah.
So that was like something that I battled with. So when that goes away, I feel like it's not that some men do. Some men get super resentful and bitter and like angry. But I think for me, it was more like this, like, fuck, you know what I mean? It was like, damn.
But that's a you issue. Because here's the thing, most women, and I mean this, any friend I have, most women that have any moral character at all, okay, and I understand there's a lot of women out there that don't anymore, but most women, it's not about the money. It's not. Do you want someone that can at least have enough to keep your family afloat if you can't work? Sure. Yeah, that's common, that's a common want, right? But we don't need a rich man. We want a good man. We want a man that will protect us. We want a man that will defend us. We want a man that actually enjoys our company, that makes us feel good about ourselves. It's not about the money. It's about the way a person makes you feel. So if a woman is with a man and he doesn't have all the money and he's like, oh God, this is bothering me, that's a you thing. That's not because she's saying you have to have all this money. I guarantee you she was fine with it.
I don't think it was the money thing. I think it was the experiences that we're sharing. But
it's the thing between you and her.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, it's kind of like we talked earlier. It doesn't matter if it's McDonald's or if it's, whatever. It doesn't matter if you're getting a $100 steak or you're going to Texas Roadhouse with that woman. It's the way she feels when she's with you that matters, right? Yeah. It's the way you make her feel. It's the way she feels safe with you. If she feels safe with you and she feels loved by you, none of that other shit matters.
I think with her, maybe it was just a bad experience, but I think she had adjusted to this life. So it's like me, like, again, like I'm building, right? So I have to build. I have to get to a certain level. So it's like she's seen those levels. So it's like my building, like it wasn't the fact that she'd done it. That wasn't the issue for me. It was like, it just felt like every level that I got to, she had already experienced. And
did she make you feel bad about it?
There was a time, and again, like I'm not trying to like shit talk her because she's a good-hearted person, but there was like a time where we went like tubing on the river with my family, right? And like I grew up like poor, Like my dad did decent, and my mom was just fucking like, we were broke. So it was back and forth with that. So we went tubing on the river. It's like my brother, his girlfriend, my mom, whatever. And I remember she went to the bathroom to call her friend, and she came back crying because like this wasn't her. Like she's like, she said something along the lines of like, it just feels like she's fallen in life, which like really attacked me. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think, to her credit, I don't think she meant it
like that.
To do that. I don't know if she meant it like that, but like she like brought up like going, like she's like, I used to go to spas and stuff, and now I'm like here, like this isn't me. And I was like, well, shit. And I think it was more of a thing of like, maybe we weren't compatible.
Yes.
Because those are things that I enjoy.
Yeah.
So it was just like a hard thing because you're dating somebody and you're hoping everything goes right. So when I got to that point, it just like was like a bruise to the ego almost. Because I was content. Like I'm happy. I was happy. I'm always happy in my life. But it's like when I felt like things that I enjoyed weren't enough.
But again,
got into that space.
But again, that was a you issue because you already had that insecurity that you needed to be something you weren't.
I don't think I had it until that day. Like that was the day that it, you see what I'm saying?
That's possible, yes.
Like
okay.
I didn't know about it until that day. I thought things were fine.
But in your mind, as a man, you're thinking, oh, this is because I'm not doing something ritzy with her. It's because I don't have money. But that's not it.
But when you come back to me in tears.
But it's, no, but she's crying because maybe she's not maybe she's not an outdoorsy girl. It's not about the money. It's not about the fact that it's not a fancy trip. It's that she's just not an outdoorsy girl. She's not a wildlife person. She likes spas. Like there are different types of people. It really was compatibility.
Yeah.
If she cared about the money, she wouldn't have dated you in the first place knowing what she knew. Right?
That's true too.
Like it wasn't about the money. It's about had a different lifestyle. You know, it's like a crunchy mom versus a hillbilly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're just different. You put a crunchy mom in a trailer park and she's going to cry. And she could be madly in love with a man that lives there. But it's not about the trailer park. It's about, that's so different from the life she's lived.
Yeah, but okay, so let's play it from like, let me play devil's advocate here. So
right.
That'd be like a guy like, oh, you know, my exes used to be like swimsuit models, and then just, you know, I'm used to this, that, and the third. And like, you love the person. Like my exes used to be just, you know, models, and you could see how that would like, you know what I mean? Like you're content with yourself, but now you hear that information and you're like, okay.
It's I'll be honest with you. Truly, it's both. It's a compatibility thing, but it was also a money thing because the things that she wanted and were used to required her to live a certain type of lifestyle. So I could very easily see how it gave you the insecurity.
Yeah.
It really, I mean, and people can be incompatible for those reasons.
Right.
If somebody's looking for things that are going to cost a certain amount of money or live a very lavish and luxury life, that could absolutely make two people incompatible, but it also becomes part of the financial issue that somebody may not be making what you need to sustain a lifestyle that you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
But again, I don't think it was down to him being about him.
No, I don't think it had to do with him personally.
It felt like a jab. Like,
Right.
I'm not attacking
Right.
the
I
character.
could see that for sure.
And I'm not like attacking girls that go for like the lifestyle thing. Like do whatever you want to do. And if I hope you find compatibility and happiness in that in some way, shape, or form. That's just not me. So it's like, just like, you know, gifts and stuff. Like you want to be able to get your girlfriend a gift, right?
Right.
I'm not a Christian Louboutin, you know, I'm not at the level where I could just buy those, like just to not think about it. Like that's like, okay, that credit card's going to that'll take some time. Those are $3,000 shoes. Like that's going to take some fucking time. Like I'll sacrifice. Like I can't do that. I can't do like a Chanel purse. So it's like 10 grand. Like I got to take out a loan just to get you a gift.
Right.
And it's like, maybe that's not it. And there's some girls that will appreciate different things. But I think for her, that was like the direction that she was going. And I think it was more of a jab to feel like I lost compatibility with somebody that I like. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was more of a jab there. And I think that was like one of those moments I look back on, and like I did develop anger towards it. Not at her. I think I was more like, it was like an internal thing going on.
Right.
So I had to get over that. That was like something that I had to grow through. And I was like, okay. So that was like one of those things where I'm like, is that going back to the point of like, if you're taking these core things away from a man that make him feel like a man, and you're not taking him away on purpose. You're not purposely stripping him down, but it's like, there's certain things that we want to do to be able to feel like the man in your life.
Yeah.
Right. So there's like little things that could really, you're taking away attraction mechanisms too.
Yeah. But to that point, that's when you have to have accountability and self-awareness, and you have to go, okay, where am I in my life right now?
That's true too.
am I in a place where I should be dating a woman that's been used to men that are filthy rich? No, I probably shouldn't. Like, because that's going to make me feel bad about myself. I'm going to feel insecure. I'm going to feel like I can't measure up. You don't date someone like that. No offense against you. Sometimes you click with somebody and you're not thinking about all that, right? But it's like self-awareness is key too in dating. Like you don't, if you're a very traditional man, you don't date a really super open woman. You know what I mean? Because you know better, right? You know yourself well enough to know that I'm traditional. I like a woman that's really classy with the way she dresses. I like a woman that's very sophisticated. I'm not going to date a college girl that's partying every weekend on a bus and with her tits out, because that's not going to make me happy, right? So I do think that's the accountability part, right?
Yeah.
But
you got to be aware of who you're dating, for sure. I mean, listen, the reality of it is you hope, right, that people accept you for who you are. And that if you vibe that well with somebody, that they're going to be willing to make sacrifices. Unfortunately, we live in a world where not everybody's willing to do that. And unfortunately, just that connection is not always enough sometimes.
Right.
So, I mean, you can choose to roll the dice, right, and get involved with somebody who may not be your typical, or, you know, you can just steer away from it and save yourself the heartache, you know,
right,
in anticipation that something like that might happen.
I got down to that too. I think it broke down to wants versus needs.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, I mean, like you have the whole world basically saying that the dating pool is shit. And it's like, well, what are you going for?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, and this goes for, again, both genders, where it's like, are you looking for that relationship? Like, are you looking for that stability? And it may not be like the want, right? It may not be like whatever the want is, but it's the need in your life.
Right.
Like, which one do you want more to? So I feel like we're tipping the scales to where it's like, there's going to be certain things in a person where it's like, we might get exactly what we wanted, but it's not going to be picturesque all the time.
Yeah, it's not what you needed.
And that's okay. And I feel like it's turning into like what sounds like, I think people think that's a downgrade.
Yeah.
When it's like, you got exactly what you wanted. Like, you should be stoked on this right here.
Right.
Well, we spoke about that yesterday. So there's a lot of people today that are sacrificing, they say sacrificing the 80 for the 20. Mm-hmm. Right? Like they want something else. They see something that they want in another person, and they might not be getting it from the person that gives them most of what they need. Yeah. Right. So they're leaving that 80% to fulfill the 20% need that they have. And then they get stuck and they look back and they're like, fuck.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why I left that. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And
the grass is always greener.
The grass is always greener, right?
Yeah.
But it's happening a lot more now. It's just people tap out much earlier today. There's
like this, I used to make this joke because it's like you hear it all the time, and it's like the joke being was like it seems like the best relationship now is like if you're a side piece in a relationship.
Right.
Like when you think about it, and it's so messed up to think about, because it's like you don't even realize the partner you have and like what they like. At a certain point, everybody in a relationship has to stand back and like look at like how much a partner has to go through. Right. Like, we're going through shit together. I go through shit with you, you go through shit with me. And then like if a partner is cheating, right? Let's say you're having an affair or whatever's going on. It's like, obviously this person, you don't have to be around this person. Everything is up on the up end when you see them. You get ready, you go out. Yeah. It's all fun and games over here. Yeah. Like everybody, it's kind of like having like the parent that's like super strict and just trying to make you a better adult, and then you have the parent that's like, do whatever you want, fucking you do whatever you want at the house, like you can watch whatever you want. Right. So it's like we're always going to go for the path that feels good, but is not better. Yeah. So it's like, again, like, and then as a side person, like you can be perfect. Yeah. You know what I mean? You look good, you're alluring, you're mysterious. Yeah. You have all these attributes that are off first glance very attractive, and you know you have this person at home that's like fucking trying, that is not even getting half the benefit of this person. Like I've gotten a lot of messages of like girls that are having affairs, and again, like super cool that they feel open to talk about it, but it's like they're becoming less attracted to their partner, but it's like, it's sad to think that, and I don't know the full story, but it's like this person's sitting at home and thinking everything's good, and you get to go out, you're having your cake and eating it too. So it's like you get to go out and experience all these fun things and get these dopamine rushes. But if they were to ever do it, you'd be pissed. Oh yeah, because that's the first question I ask. I'm like, well, what would happen if they did it? Like, oh, I'd leave. I'm like, so how is that? Like, how is that swinging in the same thing? And there's a justification for cheating where it's like, oh, all my needs aren't being met. I'm like, okay, we'll communicate that instead of just having somebody at home sitting dumb. Because like, if you truly love somebody, you're not going to make them look dumb in that sense. Yeah, I agree, 100%. Like, I think that's the worst part about cheating. Yeah, it's like you feel like you were just dumb. Well, the joke's on you. Right? Yeah, exactly. Especially if people around you know about it. Yeah. it's a
That's
terrible
a problem.
It's terrible because like I think the hurting happens to the person that got cheated on first. It doesn't happen to the person that did it till later.
Yeah.
Right.
You know
I
what
agree
I mean?
with that.
So
Definitely.
it's such a bummer. Like when you get like, I remember the first time I got cheated on, I was like, everybody knew except me. So I had to go through this whole like, and it was like with friends too. So it's like, again, this is like in the past, but whatever, but it's like people calling you like, you know, oh, what's up, bro? Like, you know, just to your
Right.
face, like able to lie to you like that.
Right. It's
And
fucked up.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts, man.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's like a moral compass to where it's like, I can never do that to another dude. Like there's a lot of guys out there that sleep with people's girlfriends. How would
Yeah.
you do that to another person you don't know?
I would have
Right.
cut those people out of my life one by
Oh
one.
yeah, I didn't. I just,
Every one of them.
oh yeah, it was like and it was like, I think that was like a huge growing point in my life to be able to be like, this shit happens and it happens to fucking everybody. And it was like a good callus to go through. But yeah, it was just, that was like the joke basically, where I feel like people don't appreciate what's at home because that's the point of a relationship. You want to be comfortable.
Right.
When you look at grandma and grandpa, you're not thinking like this huge sexual chemistry going on. You're
Right.
not looking at everything physical. You're like, they look very happy together.
Yeah.
Life is just happening with them. They're now one.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think people fear when that happens, when you like finally can join and you're just searching for something new.
Yeah.
Weird,
Well,
weird time.
keep your circle small.
It gets smaller the older you get.
Greatest advice ever.
So to your point really quick before, with women becoming more independent, I think unfortunately what's happening is it's going to become a push and pull.
Yeah,
Like,
I do
just
too.
think- I think unfortunately the things that women want and that independence is inevitably just stripping men of certain masculinity. And I think the only way for them to get it back is what's unfortunate is that for women to kind of resent from it a little bit and give it to them. So I don't know how you solve that problem because I don't think anybody should have to give up anything. But I think what happens is they get stripped of it to a degree, not intentionally.
Yeah.
And then women want them to have it and they just can't get it, right? Because
You can't
gone.
fall into your
you
masculine.
can't, right?
It's
they can't,
true.
You know what I'm saying? So it's unfortunate. It's a tough spot to be in because I don't think women do it maliciously.
Right.
I think everybody should be able to do what they want to do and be happy. It's just because of how we're built.
Yeah.
Just men need certain things and women need certain things. And I feel like when we start crossing over into each other's lanes, we start to pull that feminine from women, that masculine from men, and we wind up unfortunately where we are today.
Such a hard conversation.
It really is.
It is.
It's because it sounds like we're trying to tell people to not do certain things.
Right.
It's like this like you said, it's just a fucking difficult one.
I mean, but at the end of the day, like you can only go so far from your biological need.
Right.
Right. Like men are built that like it just is what it is. You're built bigger for a reason because you're meant to be a protector. You're meant to provide. You know what I mean? Like and women are more nurturing for a reason because they're meant to be, you know, the comforter, the center of their family. Right. Like it just there's some things no matter how far or creative we get or how outside of the box we start exploring, like at the end of the day, the masculine and the feminine, they are better, I think, more closer to the traditional roles.
I agree.
I'm okay with whatever works for a couple is fine. I don't care. Like I want to be independent. I want to be successful. I want to have my own money. Like I do. But I think, I don't know. It's tough.
The scary part, like just to end on that, like to wrap this up, but I think the scary part for me too is like what not a lot of people talk about is the access to quick money that females have now.
Oh,
which is fun. Like, you know,
They
you go into the OnlyFans, you go into the dancing, you go into that. And it's like, I know and it's like, it's great for them, but it's like, I know girls that are making like 20,000 a month,
I know
30,000 a month. And it's like, it's hard to expect that from a guy that fast, that rapidly. You know what I mean? So it's like, and again, nothing against the people that do it, but it does kind of like strip away to be like, I think that's where you get the resentment. Cause it's like, man, as a guy, you don't have that option. I mean, even if you're a bartender, right? Like if you're a dude bartender, you make substantially less than a lot of girl bartenders. Like if you were to compare like tips, restaurants, whatever it may be. So there's access to this very quick cash that I think kind of strips. And again, like it's not all about money, but it's also things that you're able to do.
Right.
So it's like, again, falling back into, a man has to be able to fall into his masculine and a woman has to be able to fall into their feminine. And I think there needs to be a realization of that.
Yeah.
There does.
Best thing.
So let's see if it happens.
Years.
Otherwise we'll have a podcast for the rest of our lives talking about these issues. I swear.
Yeah.
They'll never go away.
They'll never go away. No, it's always going to be a push and pull. It just became very dramatic over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But there's always been a tug of war between men and women to a degree, unfortunately. All right, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us as usual. Please continue to give us your feedback. You know we enjoy it. Let us know if there's any topics you'd like to hear about in the future. We're more than open to taking requests. Jacob, thank you for joining us today, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Be sure to check this guy out at Jacob Lee Razo on IG and at Jacob Lee Razo on TikTok. Thank you, guys. See you next week.